Story time about how I did the dirty with my sister's boyfriend. Whoops. My sister and I didn't actually grow up together. I grew up with my dad and she mostly grew up with my mom. Growing up, we were really competitive, like in every single way. But for the most part, we had each other's backs. She's a year older than me, so we weren't in the same grade. I got bullied a lot in high school and she always defended me. Finally, when we graduated from high school, our relationship got a lot better. We stopped competing in everything and our parents actually got back together. This was the happiest moment of our lives. We were all living under the same roof and my parents had started a new business. My sister and I started helping them with their business and it grew a lot. We were financially stable and we were even able to buy a beach house. Every single weekend we would go as a family and with friends. Now when it came to boys, we had the same taste. This unfortunately led us to have a lot of fights. She would meet a guy and I would like him. Or I would meet a guy and she would like him. But we never actively tried to steal each other's boyfriends. Also, our parents were really strict, so my sister and I had to go behind their back to have boyfriends. When I turned 19, I met this really sweet guy. We fell in love. I thought we were gonna get married. My parents were totally against me having a boyfriend, but I told them that I was old enough to make my own decisions. The only person who actually really supported me was my sister. She was able to convince my parents to accept him. So they did. He would come over and have dinner with us. We would go out on dates and eventually he asked my parents for my hand in marriage. But my parents said no. They said I was too young. So he ended up breaking up with me, which was really bad. Then my sister met a guy. So after my boyfriend broke up with me, I was really heartbroken. This was around the time that my sister met her boyfriend, the one that I did it with. They started dating really casually and he made it clear to her that he did not want to be in a relationship with her. And my parents did not like that at all. So basically he was not allowed to come to our house whatsoever. And the thing is, I never even saw his face. My sister showed me his Instagram, but he didn't really have a lot of pictures of himself. I didn't even know what his face looked like. After a few weeks, I told my parents that I wanted to start dating people, and they were so against this. Like I said, my parents are really strict. So here's what I did. I signed up to a bunch of dating apps, and I just started going on dates behind their back. And I know that I'm 19, but I still respected everything my parents told me because I lived under the roof. So I started going on a bunch of dates. And can you guess who I ended up matching with? Yep, my sister's boyfriend. Although I didn't know it was her boyfriend at the time. He and I ended up going on 2 dates. It was amazing, it was wonderful, it was great. He was super charming and really funny. And I did ask him if he was seeing other people, and he said no. But of course, that was a total lie. I even talked to my sister about this guy. I mean, how sick is that? So here's what ended up happening. He and I go back to his place and we do it. The next day, he totally ghosts me. And this is when I started investigating. After he ghosted me, I started doing some investigating. This is when I found his real Instagram. And guess who I see on it? My sister is tagged in his pictures as his girlfriend. I was totally heartbroken. Honestly, I really fell for this guy. He seemed like a really good guy, but of course they all do, right? And talk about how good of a liar he was. On our dates, all he kept talking about was how he wanted to be with somebody and how he really wanted to settle down and live with someone. It's like he was saying exactly what he knew I wanted to hear. So here's what I did. I reported him on the dating app, and then I sent him a DM on his real Instagram, and I sent him a picture of me and my sister, aka his girlfriend. He messaged me right away. He said that he had just started dating my sister and that he didn't know we were related. That's when I told him I knew he was lying. They had been dating for a while now. This guy really thought I was that stupid to believe him that he had just started dating my sister. And of course, he blocked me like the coward he is. Honestly, I don't know how to tell my sister because I feel like she might think it was my fault. Also, if my parents find out, they will kill me. I asked my sister what was up with her boyfriend. That's when she told me that he hadn't been texting her for like 2 days. It's been a week now and he's been ghosting her every single day. I know I should tell my sister, but how do I even start? Also, I know she's gonna tell my parents. I'm terrified. What the heck am I gonna do now?
Am I wrong for hiding my girlfriend's heels before going to my sister's wedding? To start off, I'm going to mention that I'm your typical 5'6" short guy. You can't say typical and then 5'6" in the same sentence. I hate myself. Oh my god, I'm sorry, I'm just kidding. I hate myself for it. I'm openly insecure about it and have exhausted all solutions to fix the issue. I met my girlfriend 6 months ago. She met my family and they all embraced her right away. My sister invited her to the wedding and mentioned including her in the wedding photos. I asked my girlfriend what shoes she was going to wear and she showed me a pair of high heels that would have basically made her look 2 times taller than me. I asked if she could consider wearing sandals instead since there was going to be photos and I didn't want to look like a gnome sitting next to her. She called me silly and brushed off my concerns, which was not appreciated. The day of the wedding, I hid her pair of heels. She has only one set in the apartment because she moved out all the old ones after I asked her to. She tried looking for them and really seemed to think something strange happened. I started telling her to hurry up so that we can go to the venue on time and she ended up wearing flats as a replacement. You're a bad man. Everything went well, and I gave her high heels back once we got home. She was shocked when she saw me holding them. I admitted hiding them for the reasons I stated above, and she got mad at me and said that I shouldn't have done that and forced her to wear sandals that completely didn't match with the dress. She kept saying I got what I wanted, but she will forever look awkward in these photos wearing those sandals. I do think she has every reason to be upset with me, but what was I supposed to do after I made my wishes clear and she brushed them off knowing full well how I felt about those high heels? So, am I the asshole? I really thought of it as a harmless move and I think she might have overreacted. Yo, dude, are you serious? Do you know how you sound right now?
Am I the asshole for demanding my husband cancel his boys' weekend and come home? Basically, my husband and I have been married for about 6 years and have a 3-year-old daughter, Elle. Prior to getting married and having Elle, we were both very independent people. This hasn't changed. As much as we value our couple/family time, we also both cherish time to ourselves and with our friends. We came up with an agreement that we each get 1 weekend a year to do whatever we like. Go away, stay in a hotel, go out with friends, while the other stays home looking after Elle. It's been working really well so far. Well, this past weekend was my husband's time, and he chose a fishing trip with pals, staying in a cabin roughly 30 minutes away. No problems. Saturday morning, the worst happened. My sister was involved in a serious car wreck. She's on life support. It's touch and go, and I'm devastated. I called my husband to tell him and ask he come home ASAP, and he refused. He said it's his weekend and he'll come by the hospital Monday. He wasn't totally heartless. He listened to me cry and scream and reassured me she'd be okay. How do we know that? But he was adamant that he's enjoying the remainder of his weekend and will join me today. My family are obviously noticing his absence and I'm too embarrassed to tell them. I understand this is interfering with his weekend, but this is my sister and she's in critical condition. I'm stunned. He's never been this selfish before. I'm angry, upset, confused, and I just don't know what to do. I told him if he didn't come home now, don't bother coming home at all. Now I'm wondering if I was too harsh because I haven't slept in 2 days and I'm a wreck. Am I the asshole?
No.
Not at all.
I think you haven't slept in 2 days because you realized you're married to a shitty person.
I sustained very bad injuries to my face this month. I'm in the stage of healing when the scar tissue has formed, but it's still very tender new skin. I'm going to have very obvious facial scarring for the rest of my life. The injury starts about an inch above my hairline, goes down over my eyebrows, so on that part, hair will not grow. It continues down my cheek where it's the deepest. I'll probably always have an indentation in the fullest part of my cheek. Then it continues to my jawline. In some ways, it's okay. I'm happy it's just cosmetic damage. My friends are super reassuring, telling me how badass and sick it's gonna look. They say I'm still hot as ever, now a little more sexy and mysterious. But in some ways, it really sucks. I know I'm always gonna be seen first as the girl with the scar, and it feels especially bad when people look at me differently. This week, I had to fly home for a family thing. It was a plan I made long before my injury. I wasn't really looking forward to the pity or people making a big deal of it. I'd rather it not be acknowledged. I'd also met with my dermatologist who said I was at the stage of the scar tissue formation that I no longer should be dressing the wounds. The skin was healing and instead I needed to be applying topical cream and Vaseline to keep the site clean and moist. It also looks a bit ugly. The building scar tissue is very red and tender, and with Vaseline over it, looks slick and shiny. So I get on this flight, I have the window seat and I put my headphones on and drift to sleep when the plane is still boarding. I wake up to this kid, maybe 4 years old, sat next to me, throwing a tantrum. I didn't catch the first part of it and I honestly couldn't understand what he was yelling about. His father said to me, "Can you cover that injury?" I said that my dermatologist recommends that I don't, so no, I don't think I will. He started snapping at me and saying, "There is no need to be so rude. That injury is graphic and it's scaring my little one." I said, "This is my face. The only damn face that I've got. It sucks being told I'm so ugly that I can't show my goddamn face in public." He started to backtrack saying, "Just until it's healed." And I said, "It'll always be with me. Maybe teach some fucking compassion and respect instead of telling a girl half your damn age what you think about her face. That's rude." He actually got up after and I think he went to the stewardess about a seat change because a young couple came and sat next to me a few minutes afterwards. I've got to admit, I felt so low that I put on my sunglasses and had a quiet cry for a few minutes. Am I the asshole for not covering up my healing scar and for being confrontational about it? I was basically an accident. When I was born, my 5 siblings were already in their late teens to early 20s and my parents were both 46. I was never abused in my childhood, but I was neglected and my entire family resented me. My parents didn't think they'd get pregnant again, but here we are. I was never looked after for by anyone and basically had to raise myself. No one ever played with me, spent time with me, or anything. They never bought me anything significant, it was always hand-me-downs. I realized this as I got older and I focused on myself. I thought that something was wrong with me because my siblings all received love and attention, so if I improved myself and did things for them, maybe they'd accept and love me too. I always got the best grades, made sure I did all my chores, always kept my room clean, and so on. However, nothing I did was ever good enough for them. We celebrated my father's birthday yesterday. My siblings and my mom wouldn't be around until we went out for dinner, so it was just me and him. I cooked him breakfast and lunch, did all the chores, and bought him a tie. I'm only 16 and on a budget. The most he came up with was a pathetic thank you. I could tell he wanted part 2 of how I told my family I wish they'd given me up. I don't know what triggered it, but I started crying. Maybe it was because of them being so happy together. When they asked me what happened, I just blew up at them and told them how I felt about my entire childhood. I told them how they never showed me any kind of love or affection, among other things. I ended up by saying I wish they had aborted me if they hate me so much or could have given me up for adoption so they could live their lives without me. My oldest sister started to say something, but I ran up to my room, closed the door, and went to sleep listening to music as they knocked on my door. When I faced my family the next day, the first thing they all did was give me a big hug, which honestly surprised me. It was the first time in years they showed me any affection. They also prepared me food, and after eating, we all talked. My oldest nephew, who was 2 years younger than me, stumbled across my post and showed it to my sister. They all apologized for how they treated me. They confirmed that I was an accident and none of them wanted to deal with another baby, so I messed up everything. But they didn't word it like that. Their reasoning was that I always did so well in life, so they were able to ignore me and pretend like I wasn't there, basically. They said they would do their best from now on to make me feel as part of the family. I thought about it long and hard and decided I'll try to form some kind of bond with them if it's even possible. Mainly, I'm going to live for myself and work towards my future. I just found out that my daughter is engaged and getting married to a man who is 20 years older than her. She's 19 and he's almost 40. Apparently, she's been seeing this man for the last 6 months and recently announced their engagement. I am in disbelief. What makes it worse is that she had confided in my sister, her aunt, about this when she first started seeing this guy. My sister encouraged her to do what makes her happy and basically pushed her into this relationship. Now she swears up and down that he's the love of her life and they're meant to be. She just told me about their relationship 2 weeks ago because she said she knew her father and I wouldn't be okay with it and was afraid of my reaction. She wanted me to meet her future husband before she introduced him to the rest of the family, so she invited me to brunch with them. When I arrived, I could instantly tell that this man knew what he was doing. I can't fathom what a 19-year-old and a 40-year-old have in common. I know this man is well off from the way he spoke about work. I could feel my teeth grate every time he put his hand on my daughter's lap, and it made me extremely uncomfortable to see them affectionate towards each other. Throughout the entire brunch, I was biting my tongue. However, when he mentioned that he wanted to purchase a house in another state for them to start a family soon after the wedding, I lost it. Things got extremely heated from here. Part 2. My daughter is engaged to a man 20 years older than her. My daughter is 19 and engaged to a 40-year-old who she's been dating for 6 months. At brunch, he mentioned that he was going to move them to another state and start a family soon after the wedding. This was my breaking point. This man already has been married 3 times and has a few children from those marriages. He's also closer to my age than her age, and his children are closer to her age. My daughter could tell that I was about to burst because she quickly tried to change the subject. However, I slammed my hand on the table and expressed how inappropriate this relationship is. I called this man out for basically grooming my daughter. My daughter quickly came to his defense, saying that age is just a number and that she's a consenting adult. I told her that I would never approve of this and left. My husband and I are furious about the situation and have tried telling our daughter that this is wrong. However, every time we try to talk to her about this, she blows up on us. She's made it clear that we can't talk her out of it and I'm at a loss. Now she's invited the rest of the family to dinner to meet her future husband. Everyone has been messaging me about it nonstop. Some are shocked about the age difference and others, like my sister, are telling me that I should stop trying to stand in the way of love. I want to shake my daughter into reality, but I feel that every time I mention my disapproval, it pushes her further towards him. Am I wrong and should I just accept this?
Story time. My boyfriend found out that his best friend got me pregnant. It was my junior year in high school and my boyfriend and I had been dating for 4 months. Well, the one night him, his friend, and I were all supposed to go to this party. My boyfriend ended up getting called into work that night, so his friend and I went. Which my boyfriend was fine with because he wanted his best friend to keep an eye on me, but he also trusted us. Anyway, so his friend and I ended up going to the party and then but the next morning I woke up, I didn't remember that at all. So fast forward, I find out that I'm pregnant. Well, me forgetting that I totally cheated on my boyfriend, I thought that it was his. Well, a week later, I get a text from his friend. And he's like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? And I'm like, what do you mean, what are we gonna do? So then he filled me in on the whole situation that I didn't remember. But I was like, there's really no chance of this because my boyfriend and I fucked like a million times and me and you fucked once. The real tea is that my boyfriend was black and his friend was white. Well, me being the ass bitch that I am, I was like, well, let's just wait it out. I bet it's not his, like for part 2. Part 2 about how my boyfriend found out that his best friend got me pregnant. So like I said, my boyfriend was black, his best friend was white, and because I doubted that it was his best friend's kid, I decided to wait it out. Say it with me, bad idea. So fast forward, I'm in the delivery room and I decide not to have my boyfriend in there. Well, let's just say good thing that he did. Bitch, whenever this thing popped out, it was white as fucking paper. So I was like to the doctor, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna have a panic attack. Please get the baby out of the room. I don't want anybody around the baby right now. So when my boyfriend came back in the room, I was like, oh, we can't see the baby. He's having some issues. He's over here freaking out. I'm having a fucking panic attack about what I'm gonna do. And they brought my kid back and I was like, that's not my kid. And this girl looked so confused. She was like, oh, okay. And my boyfriend and I are laughing. We're like, oh, haha, that's funny. Then she comes back into the room and she's like, ma'am, this is your kid. So my boyfriend started screaming and he broke up with me after that. Like, how rude to just leave me with a kid by myself. No, I'm just joking. I know that was pretty fucked. Story time. My dad got my half-brother's girlfriend pregnant. A little background information. This all happened a few years ago. Anyways, my brother was fresh out of high school and he had been dating this girl named Serena for 2 years. And my dad, for some reason, hated her. At least that's what we thought. Well, my brother didn't have a license at the time, so every time that she came over, she needed somebody to drop her off at home. So my dad would always offer to drop her off at home, even though he literally hated her. And he could have just ordered her an Uber, which is what he did with all of my friends. Well, the one night her parents called and they were like, hey, like, is Serena still there? She hasn't came home yet. And my dad said that he was dropping her off.
So I called my dad and he said that they ran out of gas on the side of the road. So that was just like one incident. Well, the next morning my mom goes to get in the car for work and she finds a thong in the car. So she brings it in the house and she asks me, hey, is this yours? Meanwhile, I had never seen them before. So then she goes and asks my half-brother and my dad's whose they are, like for part 2. Part 2 about how my dad got my half-brother's girlfriend pregnant. So like I said, my mom found that thong in the car. She came and asked me if it was mine. I said no. So then she asked my dad and my brother whose they were. So she asked my dad first. He said, I don't know whose they are. He said they probably just fell out of Serena's bag. And then she asked my brother. And my brother said, oh, those are Serena's. So after that, my brother came in my room. And he was like, do you think it's weird that the same underwear that Serena was wearing before she left ended up in the car? So I guess she had the underwear on literally before she fucking left the house. Dumb bitch alert. Anyway, so a few weeks later, Serena breaks up with my brother. Well, around the same time, my dad started staying after work really late, like every day of the week. Well, long story short, my mom went through his phone because she felt like something was going on, and she reads a conversation between my dad and Serena. Like, oh, I'm so sad that you couldn't come to the ultrasound. So then my mom and him divorced, and he's currently raising his child with Serena. Story time about how I was sexually harassed twice while working at Walmart. So a little background information. This all happened last year. So originally I was working in a warehouse, but whenever COVID hit, lost my job, I had to get a new job. So I applied at Walmart in the electronics section because they paid more money, period. And on my second day, I finally went and started working in electronics. So they had asked some of the employees to show me around. So while this one employee was showing me around, he took me to the back where the photos were. Well, whenever I got back there, this employee named Terry said, oh, she's mine. I just laughed and brushed it off because I felt super uncomfortable and awkward, and he knew I was underage because my name tag was yellow. But even after that, he still kept coming up to me, calling me weird names, just being a total creep. Like, he would keep coming up to me and get super close to me to the point where I could literally feel him fucking breathing on my face. So of course I told my manager about it. They said he's done this before, so I was like, why the fuck is he still here? So they moved me to garden. And while I was working in the gardening section, I met this guy named Jordan. Like for a part 2. Part 2 of how I was sexually harassed twice while working at Walmart. Something I forgot to mention in the first part, I reported Terry several times and they still did nothing about it. So like I said, then I met this kid Jordan, him and I started getting close, and work actually started to become fun. Well, finally, after a month, we decided that we were going to go out to lunch during work. So the day that we went out to lunch, he kept telling me that he needed to tell me something. But he was like beating around the bush the whole time. Like for some reason, he just couldn't get out what he wanted to tell me. But then he kept trying to change the subject like he wasn't the one who brought it up in the first place. I should have took that as a red flag before we went to lunch, but I didn't. So he keeps going on about it in the car, right? And then he's like, I'm not really 20, I'm 25 turning 26. So then for some reason after that, whenever he saw my mood change, this guy has the audacity to start touching my legs, fucking rubbing my inner thigh and shit. I kept telling him to stop. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? So then I told him I'm getting out of the car. And he says, I'm not gonna let you, like for part 3. Part 3 of how I got sexually harassed twice while working at Walmart. So like I said, he wouldn't let me out of the car, but then we got back to work. And then he had the audacity to keep asking if I was okay when he literally just sexually harassed me in the car. So I went to the bathroom, literally had a whole fucking mental breakdown. I called my mom to come get me because I was not finna stay there. So the next time that I went back to work, I grabbed my stuff and I gave it to one of the workers to go and give to a manager and tell them that I was quitting. Well, one of the managers caught me walking out the back door and she was like, what's wrong? So I immediately broke down. I started telling her what was going on. And then a crowd of people came around us being nosy as fuck, listening to what I was saying. And she was like, you're not quitting. I'm gonna take care of this. So she sent me home.